On Global TV News Prime, Nigerian Labour Congress demands tax relief amidst rising Nigerian fuel prices. In business, Central Bank of Nigeria relaxes dormant account rules with affidavit requirement removal. On the foreign scene, Congo begins presidential voting as citizens head to poll in Brazzaville. And in sports, Super Eagles, Iran, Jordan friendlies move to Turkey. Hello and welcome to all the viewers in Nigeria and around the world to News Prime on Global Television, coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Ubong Sora. A quick reminder, Global Television is on DSTV channel 365. We are also on Star Times channel 276. The Nigeria Labour Congress has demanded urgent intervention from the federal government to cushion the effects of the recent spike in petrol prices. This includes cost of living allowance, a wage award for workers, tax relief, and immediate steps to revive the country's public refineries. In a statement titled Save Nigerians from Shock, an urgent relief has become necessary, signed by its president Joe Ajaero. The Congress said the union voices the collective anguish of millions of Nigerian workers who are bearing the brutal cost of a global capitalist crisis they did not create. The labor body said the sharp rise in fuel prices, now selling between 1,170 naira and 1,300 naira per litre, has worsened the economic hardship facing Nigerian workers and citizens, warning that the nation risks severe social unrest if urgent measures are not taken. The NLC also accused the government of leaving Nigerians at the mercy of volatile global oil prices triggered by the escalating Middle East crisis, noting that the situation has exposed the fragility of Nigeria's downstream petroleum sector and deepened the suffering of workers and their families. The federal government says the armed forces will receive additional equipment and operational support. Renewed efforts by the federal government tackling security across the country. The Minister of Defense General Christopher Musa, retired, made this known after a high-level security meeting hosted by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu at the Presidential Villa in Abuja. Our correspondent brings the report.
Speaking with journalists after the meeting, the Minister of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, retired, reaffirmed the commitment of the armed forces to restoring peace and stability across the country. It disclosed that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has assured security chiefs of improved logistics, modern equipment, and enhanced collaboration among security agencies to reinforce ongoing military operations nationwide.
We came in here for the services to brief Mr. President on the current situation on ground. You know that there have been a series of attacks, and the security forces have actually rose to the occasion. We came here to brief him for him to have a better understanding of what's going on.
Christopher Musa also revealed that the military has intensified joint operations across troubled regions while working closely with intelligence agencies to dismantle criminal networks threatening national security. He noted that the renewed support from the federal government will further strengthen operational capacity and boost the morale of troops engaged in various theaters of operation.
And we're glad that Mr. President has continued to support the armed forces and other security agencies in the fight against insurgency. And our appeal to Nigerians is not to get tired, not to be discouraged, because sometimes when you hear those news, you think it is just what is happening, but it is not. It's far from that.
The security meeting brought together service chiefs and heads of intelligence agencies to review the nation's security architecture and strengthen strategies to confront insurgency, banditry, and other emerging threats. The latest security meeting reflects determination to safeguard lives and property and restore lasting peace across Nigeria. Ubong Usoro for Global Time.
Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, has pledged to stop land grabbing across the nation's capital. Wike made the pledge during his inspection tour of some of the ongoing FCT infrastructure projects flagged up last year. warning that the era of illegal land acquisition is over. Global Television Kabir Hassan completes the report.
The minister, while inspecting the progress of works on various sites, expressed dissatisfaction with the activities of land speculators and grabbers who have hindered organized development in their territory. Wike emphasized that his administration is committed to restoring the Abuja master plan and ensuring that land belongs to only those with legitimate titles. He sent a stern warning to those involved in illegal land transaction, stating that the law will no longer look the other way.
He just came here, took the land and started developing it on his own without approval from the FCT. And of course, the River Control has to cut it to make sure that this land grabbing must stop. These are things allocated to foreign embassies for them to have their residential areas. The man has been arrested and he will be charged to court. That is, of course, the police doing the investigation will be charged to court any moment from now.
The minister further stated that the FCT administration is streamlining the process of land documentation to make it more transparent and accessible to genuine investors. He noted that the ongoing infrastructure revolution requires a secure land tenure system, and any attempt to disrupt through illegal means will be met with full legal force. Kabir Hassan, reporting for Global TV News.
Nigerian youths have been urged to reject violence and embrace peace as a pathway to national progress. The Bishop of Ahia Diocese, Most Reverend Simeon Okezo Mobi, gave the charge during the Thanksgiving March, marking the successful completion of the tenure of the national chairman of the youth wing of the Christian Association of Nigeria, Ambassador Bello Shuku Enwere. Our Global Television correspondent Amarachi Ibe reports.
Religious leaders, youth groups, and dignitaries converge at the Maria Santa Ecclesia Cathedral in Ahera to celebrate the end of tenure of Ambassador Bello Shuku Enwere as the national chairman of the youth wing of Christian Association of Nigeria. Presiding over the Thanksgiving Mass, the Bishop of Ahera Diocese, Most Reverend Simeon Wobi, delivered a strong message to young Nigerians, urging them to reject violence and champion peace and unity in their communities. He stressed that the destiny of the nation rests largely in the hands of its youthful population and called on them to become agents of positive change.
So I encourage every youth to learn one trade or the other that will help him to stand, be employer of labor himself in the future. But then shun violence, shun restiveness, because it does not pay. So encourage every youth to be resolute in doing the best they can to have faith in the country where we belong, despite all the challenges around us, but that God is faithful when we are determined to follow the future with determination, with renewed hope in the Lord Himself, who has promised that by the work of your hand, you will be blessed.
Speaking after the service, Ambassador Bello Shuku Enwere thanked God for a successful tenure and expressed appreciation to President Bola Tinubu and the Governor of Imo State, Hope Uzodinma, for the opportunity to serve Nigerian youths.
We believe in the administration of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, that the President has the capacity to lead this country. The President has the capacity to skyrocket this nation to a place, to its rightful position in the Committee of Nations. I am confident that this nation will be great. With the man at the helm of affairs, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. To my governor, I'm eternally grateful to him because he's a man who sees the vision and he keys into it. Governor Hope Uzodinma.
The Thanksgiving service featured the presentation of a special gift to the son of the president, Sheyi Tinubu, who attended the event alongside the Minister for Youth Development. From Owerri, Amarachi Ibe, reporting for Global TV News.
Thank you, Amarachi, for that beautiful report. Youth unemployment in Nigeria is raising growing concern as millions of graduates struggle to secure meaningful jobs despite years of education. While government continues to promise reforms and employment initiatives, Many young Nigerians say the reality on ground reflects a widening gap between qualification and available opportunities. Kabir Azan reports.
Every year, Nigerian universities release thousands of graduates into the job market with high expectations of building successful careers. For many, the journey quickly turns into a prolonged search for employment, stretching for months and sometimes years without success. Across the country, the dream of securing a stable job after graduation is becoming increasingly difficult for many young Nigerians. Despite holding degrees and professional certificates, a large number of youths remain unemployed, navigating a labor market that offers limited openings and intense competition.
When you have a high rate of unemployment, there's a negative impact in the economy.
Generally, unemployment is causing a lot of havoc in the Nigerian system, which has to do with robbery, killing, and every other evil vices that can be seen. It has made the environment to be toxic.
Because Nigeria now has corrupt, so many people can finish their school, so they can't have a work to do. So it can lay you to go and steal somebody something.
In the face of shrinking job opportunities, some youth have turned small businesses, informal jobs, and digital ventures in a bid to survive and remain productive. However, many say this alternative often falls short of providing long-term stability. On the streets and in communities, young Nigerians continue to voice both frustration and determination, hoping for policies that would translate into real employment opportunities.
Create jobs, empowerment programs, skill acquisitions, and even farming has capacity to reduce unemployment.
A lot of things need to be done, both by the Nigerians and the government. There is a need for one to be self-employed, in the sense you have one or two services that you will render to people. And I think with it, the rate of unemployment can be reduced in this nation.
What the government can do is just to find a job for people.
Although the government has introduced several programs designed to stimulate job creation and empower young people, stakeholders say the scale of unemployment remains a major challenge, requiring stronger economic reforms and private sector expansion.
In our school curriculum, there is a need that the children should be given this orientation of having an alternative to collar-wide job.
Analysts warn that unless urgent and sustainable solutions are implemented, rising youth unemployment could fuel poverty, increase migration, and deprive the nations of the immense potential of its youth population. Kabir Hassan, reporting for Global TV News.
You're watching the live broadcast of News Prime. News Prime continues after this weather forecast. We'll come back with business, foreign, and sports stories on the other side of this break. Please do stay with us.
Thanks for joining us. Rainfall activities remain likely across much of the south and central parts of the country, with a few locations in the northern region also expected to see some showers. However, most areas in the north are still experiencing considerable thermal discomfort as daytime temperatures continue to rise. Residents across the northern region are advised to stay well hydrated, avoid prolonged exposure to sun where possible. Moving on to Monday, morning thunderstorms are expected across much of the southern half of the country, extending inland towards Kogi, Benue, Niger, the Federal Capital Territory, and some parts of Nasarawa, Taraba, and Kaduna. By late afternoon into evening hours, storm activities is likely to intensify along the coastline across the southeast inland areas, some parts of Taraba, Adamawa, Kogi, Plateau, and also Nasarawa State. And that's the latest weather outlook. Stay informed. Thank you for watching.
The Central Bank of Nigeria has set 18 years as the minimum age for registration in the bank verification number system as part of new measures to strengthen financial security. The directive was contained in a circular to banks and financial institutions introducing additional safeguards for instant payment services and digital banking platforms. The Apex Bank also directed financial institutions to strengthen authentication processes and improve monitoring of dormant accounts and electronic transactions. Meanwhile, the Central Bank of Nigeria has removed the requirement for customers to present affidavits before reactivating dormant bank accounts, a move aimed at simplifying the process of reclaiming inactive funds, while also maintaining safeguards against fraud. The directive was contained in a circular titled Guidelines on Management of Dormant Accounts, Unclaimed Balances, and Other Financial Assets in Banks and Other Financial Institutions in Nigeria to banks and other financial institutions. The Apex Bank said the decision followed a representation from stakeholders who had raised concerns about administrative burden associated with affidavits requirements. Across Nigeria, darkness has become a familiar part of daily life. With unstable electricity supply and the rising energy cost, many households and businesses are being forced to find their own ways to survive the power crisis. In this report, Sadia Yakubu tells us more.
Across Nigeria, reliable electricity is still out of reach for many households and businesses, despite years of reforms in power sector. Frequent blackouts continue to disrupt daily life, leaving many Nigerians to rely on costly alternatives to keep the lights on. In major commercial areas, small business owners say unstable power supply is cutting into their profits and slowing down operations.
Being without light for close to 3 weeks now. So the experience is terrible. Absolutely terrible. But really, now I want the essence of our solar, the ropes I give. We have bare minimum of active just we may can give us that, we can even appreciate it. Because that's the bare minimum.
For families, the power crisis has reshaped daily routines. Students now depend on rechargeable lamps, lanterns, and sometimes candles to study when electricity goes off at night. In parts of Abuja, residents say electricity supply can last only a few hours each day, making basic household activities difficult. Energy experts say addressing Nigeria electricity challenges will require significant investment in power generation, improved transmission networks, and great adoption and renewable energy sources. The federal government under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has promised reforms aimed at improving electricity supply. However, many Nigerians say the impact is yet to be fully felt. For now, millions of households and businesses continue to depend on generators and resilience to cope with the power shortage. Until reliable electricity becomes a reality, staying out of the dark remains a daily struggle for many Nigerians. Sadia Yakubu for Global Television News.
On the foreign scene, Ugandan opposition leader Bobi Wine says he had fled the country following threats and a military-led manhunt after the disputed presidential elections earlier this year. Wine, whose real name is Robert Kyagulanyi, said soldiers raided his home shortly after the January vote, forcing him into hiding before eventually leaving the country. The politician, who challenged longtime President Yoweri Museveni, vowed to return when conditions are safer, while his supporters continued to demand political reforms. Voting has begun in Congo-Brazzaville's presidential election, with citizens casting their ballots at polling stations across the capital, Brazzaville. For Global Television, Mukhtar Qasim brings us the reports.
Polling stations opened early as voters arrived to participate in the election expected to determine the country's next president. Security officials were deployed around voting centers as authorities sought to ensure a peaceful and orderly process. Incumbent President Denis Sassou Nguesso is seeking another term in office. The 82-year-old leader has dominated the country's political landscape for decades, having spent about 40 years in power. Observers say the outcome of the election is widely expected to favor the incumbent, although concerns remain about possible low voter turnout. Officials say voting will continue throughout the day before the ballots are counted. Final results are expected to be announced by the Electoral Commission after the completion of the nationwide coalition. Mukhtar Kasim, reporting for Global Television News.
Rwanda has withdrawn its troops from northern Mozambique if funding from the anti-jihadist mission is not guaranteed. About 1,000 Rwandan soldiers have been deployed in Cabo Delgado province since 2021 to support the fight against insurgents linked to the Islamic State group. The warnings follows reports that European Union funding for the operations could expire in May without renewal. The region, which holds vast natural gas reserves, has faced ongoing insurgent violence since 2017, leaving thousands dead and many others displaced. So we go to sports now. Nigeria's D Tigers bounced back to a winning ways with a convincing 101-84 victory over the Philippines in their third match of the 2026 FIBA Women's Basketball World Cup qualifiers. The African champions trailed 51-42 at halftime, but staged a strong comeback, dominating the second half with improved defense and faster ball movements. The victory gives Nigeria their second win of the tournament and provides momentum for the team as they prepare for the 2026 Women's Basketball World Cup. The Super Eagles of Nigeria will now confront Jordan and Iran in Antalya, Turkey, instead of Amman. The two international friendlies is moved from Amman, the capital of Jordan, to Antalya due to the current situation in the Middle East and limited movement of people. Nigeria will face Iran in their first game on Friday, the 27th of March, 2026. Meanwhile, the 2026 Finalissima match between Argentina and Spain has been cancelled. UEFA confirmed the decision, citing scheduling challenges and the inability of both teams to reach an agreement on a suitable venue and date. The match, which was expected to feature the UEFA Euro 2024 champions Spain against Copa America 2024 winners Argentina, was initially scheduled to be played in Qatar on March 27. UEFA says several alternatives, including hosting the match in Madrid or staging it over two legs, were proposed but could not be agreed upon. The European football body expressed disappointment over the cancellations, noting that the circumstances prevented the two champions from competing for the prestigious title. And that's it on News Prime. Here's a recap of our top stories. We told you that the Nigeria Labour Congress has demanded urgent intervention from the federal government to cushion the effects of the recent spikes in petrol prices. In business, we told you that the Central Bank of Nigeria has removed the requirements for customers to present affidavits for reactivating dormant bank accounts, a move aimed at simplifying the process of reclaiming inactive funds while also maintaining safeguards against fraud. On the foreign scene, voting has begun in Congo-Brazzaville presidential election, with citizens casting their ballots at polling stations across the capital, Brazzaville. And in sports, the Super Eagles of Nigeria will now confront Jordan and Iran in Antalya, Turkey, instead of Amman. A quick reminder, Global Television is on DSTV channel 365. We are also on StarTimes channel 276. Kindly do follow us across all social media platforms now on your screen. Please use @Global TV NG. I am Ubong Osoro. Bye for now.